All right, so I got a great question here that I get asked a variation of, not daily, but very frequently, okay? And so I wanted to kind of tackle it, just kind of reference for anybody in the future. And that question is from Derek, which is a great question. He said, which do you think is better, wholesale or online arbitrage, okay? Now, like I said, I get asked a variation of this question, especially recently now, because I've been putting out a lot of wholesale videos, and a lot of people that have been watching the channel for a while are kind of sitting there asking themselves like, wait, like I thought you were into online arbitrage, why are you so into wholesale now, okay? So I'll tackle that here in a second, and I'll answer that question for you, and I'll break down the benefits and the drawbacks of both of those business models, which one I like better, and my approach to both of them and why, okay? But I also get asked a variation of this question in literally just what's better, insert business model A and business model B here, right? So I'm gonna create an entire new playlist. I actually just created an entire new playlist recently called Online Arbitrage Software Battles. If you haven't checked it out, I'll link it down in the description at the very bottom if you wanna check it out. Currently there's 3 videos in there. I plan to do a lot more where I basically break down different softwares in a competing niche. So the best book flipping softwares out there, right? The best like multi-channel listing softwares out there, etc., etc. So I kind of break down the benefits of each one, the drawbacks of each one, the pricing structures of each software, because obviously software, whether you're doing wholesale or online arbitrage or whatever, is something that you should be implementing because it's going to save you a lot of time. It's basically kind of like hiring or outsourcing to somebody else that's obviously a machine here, that's going to do a lot of the heavy lifting and the work for you. It's smart to do that, and realistically, it's going to save you a lot of time and make you a lot more money, right? So check that playlist out at the bottom of the description if you haven't checked that out, okay? But the whole reason I'm getting into this is because I plan on creating a new playlist where I'm basically covering, what's better, my take on business model A or B. So it won't be just like random business models. It'll be business models that like I've tried or I've done a lot of, a lot of research on, or I know a lot about, right? So my personal opinion on them. So a couple that come to mind, obviously, online arbitrage, wholesale, content creation like you see right here, whether that's creating courses, whatever information products or videos like this, drop shipping potentially, a lot of different things. But I'll kind of cover, maybe starting an agency, stuff like that. I'll cover the benefits and the drawbacks of each business model, and I'll compare them against each other in an actual video, and I'll tell you the benefits, the drawbacks of each, and what I think is better for which person, right? The beginner, the more advanced person, the person that has like a lot of money to start, the person that has a lot of time to start, etc., etc., okay? So that was a long-winded intro. I probably lost a bunch of you. If you're still here, hit that like button. I genuinely appreciate you spending your time here with me today, and I appreciate you watching this video. But this is gonna be the first, video in that playlist. That's why I'm telling you, okay? So to answer Derek's question specifically, what do I like better, online arbitrage or wholesale? Honestly, I like them both, okay? And I know that's not the answer that a lot of people are looking for online arbitrage and wholesale specifically, but for me personally, I don't look at them as different, okay? They are a little bit different because obviously with online arbitrage, you're profiting off of the discrepancy in a marketplace, right? For example, let's say, and this is a bad example, but let's say this highlighter sold on eBay, and there's many ways to do this, right? But let's say this highlighter sold on eBay for $5, then it sold the same exact highlighter sold on Amazon for $20. Online arbitrage is buying it on eBay, making the $15 difference by selling it back on Amazon, right? It's online arbitrage 101. There's a million ways to do online arbitrage, especially with software, and actually turn it into a legitimate business that pays you every single month and scales it up. So I like that a lot, but wholesale is really just reselling in a nutshell to me as well, right? I look at them both as like just reselling, okay? Now wholesale is a little bit more scalable. You need a little bit more money to get started. I'm going to kind of outline the specifics of each here in a second, but really it's just another way to resell, right? The only difference that I see is that you need a little bit more money to start. It's a little bit more of like an actual business, right? So it's not just like buying and profiting off the differences. You're buying into a lot of products in one potential listing and doing that over and over again and building up an actual like resale business. But you also need a reseller's permit. There's a million different names for that actual, business license, a wholesale license, a reseller's permit. There's like literally 10 to 20. And I've done an entire, video on how to get a reseller's permit if you need to know. I'll also drop that video at the bottom of the description if you want to check it out as well. Okay, so to sell liquidation, to buy from liquidation companies, to sell wholesale and buy from wholesale companies, you do need a reseller's permit. Okay, so the benefits of online arbitrage, in my opinion, the way I see it, and there's probably 6 different ways or 5 different ways, I guess, to do online arbitrage that I do, that I recommend. And if you're interested in what those actual 6 ways are, you can check the free case study. It's 100% free. Down in the description, it's the second link in the description that will basically show you the 6 ways that I resell right from my own home using software sometimes, and other times just sourcing websites that kind of house a bunch of deals. It'll break down each specific business model for you and certain sites and examples of products that I've resold for a profit and the profit margins with proof. Okay, so check that case study out if you want more in-depth on like a lot of different OA business models. But the benefit of online arbitrage is like you really aren't attached to one listing, in my opinion, right? And you really can kind of start with $10, or you can start with a couple $1,000s. So it really kind of gives you the freedom essentially to pick and choose your battles, pick and choose where you're going to invest your money for not guaranteed returns, because nothing's guaranteed, especially on Amazon, because certain things can change from time to time, the competition, the price, a lot of different things, right? But it really kind of gives you that freedom as you get better and better at it to buy on one marketplace with, pretty much not assurances, but like a good chance to make a lot of money with that product on another marketplace, okay? Especially if you're using software, especially if you're very good and very quick with it, and you've pretty much nailed down how to actually do that, okay? So the benefit of something like online arbitrage is there are ways to start with like $5, $10, and then slowly kind of build that $10 into $50, that $50 into $100 or $150, that $150 into a couple $100, into a couple $1,000, etc., okay? It does, depending on the business model, and there are online arbitrage business models that are very, very scalable. A couple that come to mind are like retail website sourcing with like software, like Source Mogul, for example. I have an entire playlist on this channel called it's either bulk arbitrage or retail website sourcing arbitrage. You can check out that playlist on the channel if you want more information on that. Also like books and sourcing books with a software like Zen Arbitrage or eFlip, also a great way to do it. So that's another very, very scalable online arbitrage business model. So you have both ends of the spectrum, right? You have very, very beginner friendly where you're not investing a lot of money at all, and you're just slowly kind of building up your money into more money, into more money, and more money, and that getting that snowball, that metaphorical snowball rolling into a lot of money, which then you can put into wholesale or put into a more scalable online arbitrage business or invest somewhere else or whatever you want to do, right? So online arbitrage has that benefit going for it. It also has the benefit of it that you're not attached to one listing, right? So with like private label, there's a lot of benefits to private label, whereas where it's like you go out and you create your own listing and your own your own brand on Amazon. You get a product manufactured a lot of times from overseas, and then you try to rank that listing on Amazon and sell it long term and get organic traffic and also sell with PPC, right? The benefit of online arbitrage versus private label is like you're not attached to that one listing, right? So like, God forbid something happens where like you're late to market and you have a bunch of competitors during private label, right? When doing private label, or somebody tanks the price and you can no longer sell it at that price. You're not like career long invested in that listing, with online arbitrage, right? Instead, you can literally hop around from listing to listing. So as listings become good and as competition kind of drops and as prices increase, you can hop on those listings and avoid the other ones that aren't, right? It really gives you the flexibility and the freedom to pick and choose your battles. And because of that, I like that a lot better for me, okay? There are people out there that like private label a lot better, and I know that's not what we're talking about in this video, but I just want to kind of outline the importance of not necessarily being attached to one listing, okay? Now, obviously, the benefit of being attached to one listing, whether you're doing private label or wholesale, because a lot of wholesale you are going to be attached because you're buying more inventory into certain listings, you're going to be attached more to a listing a lot like private label for an extended period of time, right? Not for like years, but maybe for like a couple weeks to a couple months, depending on how much inventory you're buying, okay? So that has its benefit as well, because if you're invested in a listing that's very, very good, right, where the competition is down, the price is relatively good, you bought into a product in bulk, relatively cheap, and you've solidified your margin, that can also be a benefit as well. Although if for whatever reason, a lot of other people that you weren't anticipating come on as like other private label products, right? Or in wholesale's example, actually come on and buy into that listing as well and then tank the price, you're shit out of luck, right? Because then you're attached to that listing, you have all that inventory that you need to sell, and you either need to liquidate and sell it at a loss or like very, very small profit margin now, or you need to wait long term till the price goes back up and a lot of people sell off their inventory for you to actually make your money back, okay? So both of them have their benefits and their drawbacks. I don't like to pick one because I don't literally sit here and be like, I'm the online arbitrage guy, right? or I'm the wholesale guy, right? I literally use them all as like metaphorical tools in my reselling tool belt, and that's the way that I look at them, okay? So I would say, depending on where you're at in the process, one might be better or worse for you, okay? Do you have a lot of money to start? Are you looking to rank potentially long-term into a listing here and there? Are you looking to do a more hands-off business, like a lot like wholesale would be, because you can source with software, and then your wholesale supplier is going to do all the packing and the shipping into FBA for you, which Amazon FBA is obviously going to do all the fulfillment, distribution, and customer service for you. So it's a lot more hands-off, but one of the drawbacks of wholesale is you have to spend a lot more money into it, right? You're probably looking at a couple grand at least to start a wholesale business. At the very, very, very minimum, I usually tell people you need at least $1,000, but that's honestly at the minimum, and it's gonna be, it's not tough because you can just buy into a listing or two, but that's kind of the very bare minimum in my opinion, okay? So you have to ask yourself, do you have experience? Because if you don't have experience, I wouldn't go with wholesale, right? I would start with online arbitrage, because if you don't have experience and you don't have a lot of money, or if you have a lot of money and you don't have a lot of experience, either way, online arbitrage is a great way to learn the Amazon platform and other platforms like eBay, Poshmark, and Mercari, for example, and a number of other ones. Learn a lot about reselling in general and how it's approached, so that you can take all those lessons and then bring them into wholesale and scale your business that way, okay? So those are basically the benefits and the drawbacks of both. To recap, wholesale, you need a lot of money to start. You also are going to be attached to a listing for a long period of time, which can be a good thing or a bad thing. It's a little bit more scalable. It's a lot more hands-off, meaning you don't have to spend a lot of hours or a lot of your time. Although a lot of times with wholesale, your margins are going to be a little bit lower than they would be a lot of times with online arbitrage. With online arbitrage, like I said, there's many ways to do online arbitrage. You can check the free case study, which is the second link in the description if you want more information on that. So there's many ways to do online arbitrage, but you can start with little money, you can start with a lot of money. There's very, very beginner-friendly business models for online arbitrage, and there's also very scalable and more advanced with software business models. So they both have their benefits, their drawbacks, and obviously another benefit of online arbitrage, to recap as well, is that you're not attached to a listing, right? God forbid you buy a couple pieces of inventory for online arbitrage and a bunch of people start being your competition, or the price tanks. You're not really out that much money or that much profit, because you're not into that listing very much, right? Most of the time. So that's my opinion on what I think is better, for you specifically, or for other people watching this video. If you're kind of strapped for ideas and you're kind of trying to ask yourself which one's better for me, right? So it really depends on your situation. If you want to basically let me know, for me to give you a recommendation, drop a comment down below with your situation, your questions on both of them, and I'll give you a recommendation of which one I think would be better for you. But the way that I personally approach it is like, I don't look at them as different, right? I don't look at it as like you have to pick online arbitrage or you have to pick wholesale. Obviously, certain ones are better for certain people, but for me specifically, I do them both. I do variations of online arbitrage all the time. Right now, currently, I'm sourcing a lot of retail website arbitrage with SourceMogul, which is a software. And I'm also sourcing a lot of books with eFlip currently, although I just got done testing out Zen Arbitrage for another course of mine, in Online Arbitrage Pro, which is my premium course. First link in the description if you're interested in that, but that's my basic take on it. And then I also scale wholesale up a lot as well, but I kind of pulled back the reins on wholesale because of everything with the coronavirus. So like I couldn't ship things into FBA. So I wasn't sourcing a lot of wholesale probably the past like 3 months-ish or so because of everything with the virus, right? So obviously now that FBA is pretty much back open, I'm resourcing a lot of wholesale. I'm doing a lot more wholesale research, and I'm going to be buying into a lot more, product listings wholesale wise. So that's my take on it. They're very, very similar. I like them both. I just look at them both honestly as, reselling business models and metaphorical tools in my reselling tool belt. So I hope that outlined the benefits and drawbacks for you. I hope that you appreciate the value in this video. If you do, please hit that like button. I genuinely appreciate it, and it actually does a lot to help this video and this channel rank in YouTube search and the YouTube suggested and the whole algorithm. So thanks for spending your time with me today, guys. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you in the next one.